Dr. Adrian Holt was the epitome of medical excellence at St. Catherine's Medical Center. With over 30 years in the field, his reputation was built on an unwavering commitment to patient care and a string of groundbreaking surgeries that had saved countless lives. His name was synonymous with trust and professionalism, a fact that every hospital administrator used to boast about in press releases and donor meetings. Holt's striking presence, silver-streaked hair, and a calm, commanding voice made him a natural leader in medical conferences and a favorite among his peers. But behind the suits and accolades lay a man deeply compartmentalized, hiding struggles from the world that only a handful of insiders sensed. Holt's marriage to Margaret Holt, a prominent attorney, seemed perfect on the surface, a power couple admired both in medical and legal circles. Yet their relationship had grown cold over the years, burdened by competing careers and unspoken grievances. Holt found himself increasingly isolated, wondering if his early dreams of making a difference had slowly slipped into hollow ambition. It was in this lonely professional world that Elise Warren entered his life. Elise was 29, sharp-minded and compassionate, having recently joined St. Catherine's as a nurse practitioner. She was everything medically competent, but also a rare breath of fresh air, warm, unpretentious, and vibrant, with an easy smile that lit up even the darkest hospital corridors during long shifts. They first crossed paths during a night when a critical patient required coordinated care, forcing Holt and Elise to work in unison for hours. There was an unspoken respect and mutual recognition of each other's skills that night, but what brewed beneath soon transcended professional boundaries. Their secret affair unfolded discreetly. Stolen glances in crowded staff rooms, quiet conversations in empty hallways, and late-night texts fueled by a reckless thrill. They were cautious, aware of the risks, but unable to resist the magnetic pull. For a while, it felt like their hidden world would remain intact, balanced on mutual trust and the shared understanding of consequences. Yet, as the months passed, the relationship's undercurrents became harder to control. Elise wanted more open acknowledgement and perhaps an escape from her engagement to someone else. Holt, on the other hand, was gripped with fear. Exposure would ruin him, both personally and professionally. The growing tension between desire and danger cast a shadow over their secret meetings, setting the stage for a conflict from which there might be no return. The delicate balance between Adrian Holt and Elise Warren began to crumble on a cool autumn evening. The hospital buzzed with its usual late shift energy. Heart monitors beeped steadily, nurses moved briskly between rooms, and the faint smell of antiseptic lingered in well-worn hallways. Elise had just ended a tense meeting with the cardiology team when her phone vibrated quietly. The screen lit up with a message from Holt. "Can we talk? It's urgent." When she found him in his office, the weight of his presence was unmistakable. He was usually composed, but tonight his eyes flickered with something less practiced. Anxiety, desperation, perhaps even fear. Holt's words came haltingly, urging Elise to reconsider making their relationship public, warning her of the irreparable damage to his personal and professional life. He spoke of his wife Margaret, their social standing, and the fragile reputation he had spent decades building. But Elise, emboldened by frustration and hope, was no longer willing to remain in the shadows. She confessed her growing impatience and intention to leave her fiancé and reveal the truth. The conversation escalated quickly from cautious pleas to heated arguments. Elise accused Holt of selfishness and cowardice, while he countered by highlighting the impossible consequences of their love being exposed. Behind closed doors, emotions that had been repressed for months erupted in frustration and heartbreak. Holt felt trapped. His career was a fortress on the verge of collapse, and Elise was the relentless storm at its gates. In that moment, a shadow passed over the trust they once shared. The very next day, whispers began circulating among the hospital staff. A few nurses noted, with a mix of curiosity and concern, the abrupt change in Elise's demeanor. She seemed distracted, tense, and unusually withdrawn. Holt, meanwhile, immersed himself in work, avoiding colleagues and missing scheduled meetings. Those close to both began to speculate that something crucial had shifted in the fragile connection that once kept them close. More than professional ethics, It was secrecy that now ruled their lives, a silence that tightened like a noose. Holt sought to regain control, fearing that any leak could turn into a scandal that might destroy everything he had spent decades cultivating. Elise, torn between love and ambition, pushed forward with her own plans, determined to live honestly, even if it meant risking everything. Their once secret romance was fast becoming an impossible dilemma with consequences neither could escape. Tuesday evening fell quietly over St. Catherine's Medical Center, its familiar hum of activity winding down in some wings while others remained a hive of urgent motion. Elise Warren was scheduled for an overnight shift in cardiology, a department often dealing with life-or-death situations, and she arrived ready to face another demanding night. But beneath her professional calm, there was an unmistakable tension, one fueled by the previous day's confrontation with Dr. Adrian Holt, and the growing fear that their secret might be exposed. The hospital's corridors seemed colder than usual, and Elise's colleagues noticed she kept to herself, avoiding the usual camaraderie. Holt, meanwhile, claimed to be caught up in a seemingly endless stream of conference calls and paperwork in his private office, a stone's throw from where Elise would be working. The distance between them was palpable, yet fate had other plans. Shortly after 9 p.m., Holt summoned Elise to his office, citing the need to discuss a complex patient's treatment plan. It was a routine enough excuse dressed in urgency, but it masked the storm that was about to break. Staff members recalled seeing Elise walking towards Holt's office, a folder clutched in her hands, the faintest hint of a nervous smile on her lips, perhaps unaware of how critically her fate would soon turn. What happened in that office remains one of the darkest mysteries of the case. Elise never returned to the cardiology floor, and as hours passed, concern rippled through the night staff. The next morning, hospital security found her lifeless body, hidden beneath a pile of discarded sheets in a small storage room rarely visited by staff. The scene was chilling in its clinical coldness. No signs of struggle, only the eerie silence of death. Preliminary investigations revealed that Elise's death was caused by a lethal injection of potassium chloride, a substance used in hospitals for legitimate medical purposes but deadly if administered improperly. Its presence in her bloodstream sparked immediate suspicion. Injection of potassium chloride directly into the bloodstream stops the heart in a matter of seconds. The fact that such a drug was used pointed to someone with medical knowledge and access, narrowing the circle of suspects drastically. Everyone at St. Catherine's could scarcely believe the news. Elise, vibrant and dedicated, was gone, and the undercurrent of fear and speculation began to surge. Who would want to harm someone so well-liked and professional? As the hospital braced for the storm ahead, few could imagine the unraveling of the secrets within their own walls. The aftermath of Elise Warren's tragic death sent shockwaves through St. Catherine's Medical Center and beyond. Law enforcement swiftly arrived at the scene, launching a rigorous investigation into the circumstances surrounding her demise. The hospital administration moved quickly to cooperate, though whispers of internal scandal began to permeate the staff's anxious conversations. From the outset, the police faced perplexing contradictions. There was no sign of forced entry into the hospital or any of the restricted areas in the late-night hours when Elise died. Curiously, security cameras near Dr. Holt's office, the critical point of last contact, had been mysteriously deactivated shortly before the estimated time of death. This indicated a level of premeditation and knowledge that only insiders could possess. Forensic teams meticulously analyzed the injection site and toxicology reports, confirming the presence of potassium chloride in lethal quantities. Since potassium chloride is not a common poison but a medical substance used under strict supervision, investigators turned their focus towards personnel who had both the access and skill to administer it undetectably. This immediately pointed suspicion at someone with profound medical expertise. Interviewing hospital staff unearthed murky fragments of the truth. A junior nurse recalled Holt and Elise sharing what appeared to be secretive, heated exchanges in hushed tones near the break room. Another staff member noted Holt's unusual absence from meetings the morning following Elise's death, and a hospital janitor mentioned seeing Holt linger near the storage room late into the night, hours before the cameras went offline. These testimonies began to paint a picture of a man balancing precariously on the edge of desperation. Most damning was the discovery on Elise's personal phone. Hidden beneath layers of passwords were innumerable text messages exchanged with Holt, their content oscillating between declarations of affection and tense confrontations. In one particularly alarming message, Holt seemed to threaten her with the crushing consequences of going public. This revealed a motive rooted deeply in fear and control, a secret love affair spiraling into dangerous territory. The investigators realized they stood at the nexus of a blurred line between love, betrayal, and murder. What had started as a secret romance between a senior doctor and his nurse practitioner was now a high-profile homicide case, threatening to topple reputations and disrupt lives. The task ahead was clear: untangle the web of deceit woven by Holt and expose the truth behind Elise's untimely death. As the investigation deepened, Dr. Adrian Holt's poised public image began to fracture under the weight of mounting evidence. Initially, during police questioning, he presented the calm demeanor of the seasoned professional, measured, precise, and cooperative. He insisted that he had last seen Elise earlier in the evening when she handed him that patient file and firmly denied any romantic involvement, portraying their relationship as purely professional. However, the carefully crafted image started to crumble when the investigating officers confronted Holt with its cracks. Hospital IT specialists retrieved deleted text messages revealing intimate, sometimes desperate exchanges between Holt and Elise, where veiled threats mixed with pleadings for secrecy. This starkly contradicted Holt's claim of a strictly professional connection. When pressed, Holt's confidence faltered, and his answers became vague and evasive. Further forensic evidence intensified suspicion. A match was found between fibers on Elise's clothing and threads from Holt's lab coat, placing him at the scene of the crime in a crucial window of time. Moreover, security keycard data traced Holt's movements to the storage room shortly before the surveillance cameras went dark, movements he had initially denied. Investigators began to see Holt less as a detached doctor and more as someone capable of desperate measures to guard his secrets. Friends, colleagues, and even some patients struggled to reconcile the man they revered with that of the prime suspect in a murder investigation. Margaret Holt, Adrian's wife, maintained silence publicly, but behind closed doors, her presence at court hearings and the tension surrounding her whispered of a family unraveling. The media capitalized on the scandal, painting a tale of deceit, betrayal, and tragedy. Public sentiment began to turn, with hospital staff recalling rumors of secret meetings and unexplained absences. The legend of Holt as a flawless medical icon was replaced by murmurs of manipulation and control. The investigation revealed not just a crime of passion, but the collapse of a man who believed that preserving his reputation at any cost was worth far more than a life. The courtroom was packed with a mix of press, hospital staff, and curious onlookers, all drawn to the high-profile murder trial of Dr. Adrian Holt. The public watched with rapt attention as the proceedings revealed intimate details of both the professional life and the hidden personal turmoil of the once-celebrated physician. Holt, dressed in a stark dark suit, sat expressionless as the prosecution laid out its case with relentless precision. The prosecution's argument was chillingly methodical. They painted Holt as a man cornered by his own secrets, whose fear of public scandal drove him to commit murder. Expert witnesses testified that the lethal injection of potassium chloride required both medical expertise and intent, criteria met only by someone with Holt's knowledge and access. Testimonies from nurses and colleagues described the affair and Holt's growing desperation to contain it. Text messages between Holt and Elise were read aloud, including the threatening lines that sealed the narrative. "If you destroy my life, I will destroy yours." Holt's defense attorney, meanwhile, fought to dismantle the case by emphasizing the circumstantial nature of the evidence. They argued that Elise, burdened by workplace pressures and personal conflicts, might have taken her own life. Witnesses for the defense attested to Holt's impeccable professional conduct and denied witnessing any signs of domestic discord. The defense sought to sow doubt about the timing of the camera outages and the lab coat fibers, suggesting coincidental explanations and hospital security lapses. Despite the defense's efforts, the prosecution's case resonated stronger with the jury. Closing arguments underscored the betrayal, a trusted healer who broke every oath to preserve his image. The courtroom atmosphere was tense as the jury deliberated under the scrutiny of a captivated public. For the family of Elise Warren, every day of the trial offered a painful reckoning with loss and the hope that justice would prevail. Throughout the trial, Margaret Holt's stoic presence and controlled silence symbolized the fractured personal lives left behind. Media outlets speculated on the fate of the Holt marriage and the lasting damage to the hospital's reputation. The trial became more than a legal battle. It was a bitter saga of love, loss, and the devastating cost of secrets in a world where trust is everything. After weeks of intense courtroom drama, the day the jury delivered its verdict came with a heavy tension felt both inside the courtroom and far beyond. The jurors filed back into the room, their faces solemn but resolute. With a voice steady and clear, the foreperson announced, Dr. Adrian Holt was found guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Elise Warren. The courtroom was filled with a mixture of gasps, muted sobs, and stunned silence. For many, the verdict was a bitter confirmation that the man who once symbolized healing had become a harbinger of tragedy. The sentencing was swift. Holt was condemned to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a sentence reflecting the gravity of his betrayal and the cold intent required to murder his nurse practitioner. The judge's words underscored the breach of trust, not only within the walls of St. Catherine's but in the public's faith in those tasked with guarding their lives. Holt's fall was complete, from revered doctor to convicted murderer. In the aftermath, Elise's family bravely stepped forward, voicing the pain, confusion, and anger that had long been shadowed by grief. They recounted Elise's vibrant spirit and dedication to her patients, a life cut short by a man she had trusted. Their public statements ignited conversations about toxic power dynamics in healthcare and the hidden dangers that can lurk behind facades of respectability. St. Catherine's Medical Center reeled from the scandal. Administrators implemented sweeping reforms in hospital protocols, including stricter surveillance, staff relationship policies, and reporting mechanisms designed to prevent such a tragedy from repeating. The medical community expressed a collective shock but also a resolve to learn from the dark chapter. Margaret Holt, though seldom publicly vocal, was reported to be seeking therapy and legal separation, her life irrevocably altered by the ordeal. Meanwhile, Adrian Holt's first night in the penitentiary was said to be marked by silence and reflection. Alone in a stark cell, grappling with a sentence harsher than any medical diagnosis he had ever delivered. The story of Dr. Holt and Elise Warren soon became a cautionary tale whispered in hospital corridors and medical conferences, a stark reminder that beneath even the most polished reputations, human frailty and moral failure can reside. It was not just a tale of murder, but a profound unraveling of trust, love, and consequence, embodying the tragic price when ambition and fear collide in the shadows.